This is going to be the easiest path for you to reach 15% body fat before spring comes around. And the day of recording this video, you got about 4 to 6-ish months depending on your current level of body fat. If you're sitting at 20 to 28% in that range, this can easily be achieved if you actually stick to it and do what I'm going to tell you to be doing in this video. I'm going to be breaking down to 3 categories. We're going to have the mindset, resistance training, nutrition aspect. Nutrition is the most important one because it allows you to sustainably keep any levels of body fat technically if your nutrition is dialed in. First thing we're gonna have to do is to create a caloric deficit. A caloric deficit, it's basically you're burning more calories than you're consuming, which leads to your body using fat storage for energy. This is gonna be non-negotiable. If you're not in a caloric deficit, none of this will work. I don't care about your insulin levels. I don't care about your hormones. At the end of the day, it's all the same principles. Yes, it might be more tedious on your end, but if you're consuming more calories than you are burning, you will be gaining body fat. What I found for the most success within my clients is to lose around 10-ish% of your total body weight. So if you're 200 pounds watching this, you're going to want to lose 20 pounds in this dieting phase. If you have no idea what your calories should be, you can go to Google, type in a calorie calculator, or if you want to be lazy, just multiply your body weight as of right now times 11. It's going to give you a rough estimate of what your total calories look like. If you're on the lower end, so you weigh like 130, 150, your calories are going to be pretty low. Again, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's just a rough estimate to kind of work around with afterwards. Now that we have the calories set aside, you have to figure out your protein. I like to have your protein times your goal body weight. If you're on the heavier side, 300 plus pounds, 260, say you're pushing 30% body fat, 40% body fat, I would probably pick lean body mass times the protein. So if you're 6 feet, I would probably put you like at 160 to start if you're a complete beginner, and then work your way up to like maybe 180, and that would be the cap as of right now. Another non-negotiable when it comes to the approach of reaching 15% body fat, it's going to be tracking your caloric intake. Most people do not know how much calories they're eating, which is a big red flag. If I go make some coffee and I want to make it taste as good as I want, I promise you that sucker's going to be almost 600 calories. When I'm actually tracking myself, I can get my coffee to like 70 calories, and it's a big difference. Same thing for my other foods. We are super unaware of how much calories we're actually eating. Sauces, condiments, drinks, oils, things we cook with on a very consistent basis, those suckers add up very, very quickly. I've had some clients where I can strictly pull those things the way I mentioned, and they will lose weight like no other. Those little things add up a lot, and you have to be very mindful of it. You want to get into the habit of just tracking your intake consistently. It's not me forever. It's to kind of just make you aware of the foods you're currently eating and trying to understand a portion control. If I had to give one bonus tip for anyone watching this, it's going to be to create certain types of recipes. We all have cheat meals in mind. I love milkshakes and burgers. Arguably, I can make that at home. I have a Ninja Creamy. I can go make a burger with like 96.4 ground beef, etc. Say you're gonna be making a meal that's like protein brownies, French toast, something just really tasty that you've been craving, but the setup takes so long. It's like an hour to prepare, 10 minutes to eat the food, 10, 15 minutes to clean the materials you used. We're talking like an hour and 20 minutes just for 10 minutes of enjoyment. Meals like that, it's how people get so caught up and they fail to reach their goal. It's way too complex, revolves around so many ingredients that it's just not worth it in the long run to start eating these consistently. You have to find a balance within your meal. Say there's like a graph, right? You have an enjoyment here and you have a goal over here, and there's a line in the middle. You have to find something that leans somewhat in the middle of enjoyment and your goal so you can actually eat these foods consistently. One of my biggest ones is going to be oatmeal. I just love the way I make it. French toast. It's going to be my Ninja Creamy, ground beef and rice, or a salad I would cook up. Your job is to figure out staple meals that you can have very consistently without too much thought process going inside of preparing the meals. Another big cheat code as well too is to obviously buy your foods in bulk. Costco or Sam's are the best at this. It's also going to help you from alleviating the kind of winging it aspect. Tie up nutrition altogether, you're going to want to have a food scale. Again, it's not necessary forever. It's just for the time being to really help you be aware of how much you're currently eating. The second component is resistance training. This is arguably one of the most important ones, but it doesn't necessarily have the biggest impact. When it comes to actually changing your physique, losing weight would be the fastest way for someone to notice big change. Unfortunately, muscle building, unless you're on a shit ton of gear, top tier genetics, it's unlikely you're going to be noticing in the first 2 to 6 months in a way, depending on your levels of body fat as well too. It's very, very tedious and strenuous process, so you have to make it as simplistic as possible. Your goal is to follow a very simplistic, clear structured program and just find a routine and stick with it. For most of my clients that are beginners, I give them 3 days a week. Upper, lower, full body, that is it. And I really like to focus on heavy compound movements and throw in some isolation supersets if possible. If my client has decent conditioning, if I make him do a bench press, I'll make him do like some seated dumbbell curls. If I have a client doing lat pull downs, I'll make him do some seated lateral raises. It's trying to superset 2 movements that won't interfere with each of those muscle groups. And if you really are strict on time, obviously you're going to want to be doing 2 sets to start it off, which most of us should really be doing if you're training with good intensity, and trying to keep rest times to a minimum. I promise you'll be fine doing 1.5 minutes on ladder raises, 2 minutes on a lat pull down. You won't die. The gains are still going to be there. One of the mistakes I've made in the past too was constantly warming up too much. If you are very healthy and you're totally fine with moving around in all your workouts and your exercises, you don't have to grab resistance bands. You don't have to do lunges around the gym before a leg day. If you're going to be leg pressing 135, all you have to do is jump on the machine, no weight, do like 10 to 15 reps. Put a 25, do like 6 to 10 reps. And then you put your working set weight, which is a 45. You can do like 1 to 3, depending on what your total rep range is for that set. Slowly warm up the actual muscles being used, the joints around the connective tissue as well too. Again, if you get a little bit tired during the warm up, take a little breather before the working set. But necessarily, you don't have to rest between each of those warm up sets. Your job is just to go in, do a few reps, add some weight, do a few reps, add some weight, do a few reps. You shouldn't be getting tired because the low amount of reps you are doing with that current weight, it's just nowhere near the actual effort it takes to reach a stimulating set. 2 sets is going to be your ideal plan. You want to be training 2 or close to failure. Ideal, if you want to maximize hypertrophy, you have to be pushing yourself in the gym. If you're not used to it, put your phone down, record your set. You should be noticing your rep speed slowing down big time to see it close to the end of the set. You might get heavier breathing, you might be grunting, making some weird faces. Super valid and normal. Just make sure you're actually challenging yourself. If you're not challenging yourself in the gym, I'm not going to say it's a waste of time, but you're not necessarily focused too much on the muscle building on the side of it. The third and final component is going to be the mindset. This is arguably one of the most important ones because yes, you can master nutrition. Yes, you can master hypertrophy. Without the mindset, everything else kind of crumples, right? It's the foundation of the entire pillar. Your mindset really dictates how you view not necessarily only the gym, it's everything else in life. When you start to understand sacrifices, long-term gratification that does come from within working out and reaching 50% body fat, I want to say life changes. Again, I don't want to sound too biased. It changes technically everything when you start putting in work and you start seeing the payoff behind it all and understanding what the process and the plan is and having faith in it. I have 2 bonus tips for you guys, and it's going to be tracking. You want to make sure you're weighing yourself under the same conditions every single time as much as possible. I'm a big fan of weighing myself daily. I always do it after the rush in the morning before work. And I do it consistently every single time. You have to look at your averages and your trends. Don't necessarily focus on daily fluctuations. I don't know the actual percentage, but it could be like 10 to 25% where your daily weight will fluctuate, especially if you had a lot of sodium the night before, you're very sore, you're very stressed out. If you weigh yourself 5 days a week and you don't have like a spreadsheet that can track it, all you have to do is just add those 5 days of your weigh-in divided by how many times you weigh in, which is going to be 5. That's your weekly average. Put in your notes, do the next week. It's never important enough to completely change your entire program because you had one shitty weigh-in day. It's very normal. You have to look at the average and then you can make a judgment call regarding any adjustments that need to be made. And please do not forget to take your photos. This is something I regret really getting into fitness. Take your photos on a monthly basis. If you are on the lower end of body fat, so like on the teens, 16, 17 kind of thing, you could arguably take them every 2 weeks because the less body fat you have, the more visible improvements you will be seeing on a consistent basis. If you're on the higher end, like 30, 26, you really won't notice too much body fat being peeled off. Final tip is going to be sleep. Focus on 6-7. It's not intentional. For most people and adults watching this, 6-7 is like their sweet spot. More will be better. If you're getting 7 to 8, 9 hours of sleep, I promise you're doing God's work. The more sleep you get, the better muscle recovery, muscle development, overall stress, and it's also gonna be fat loss. Man, it's kind of early. Say you reduce your sleep intentionally, right? It's like a sleep study. If you have poor sleep, everything I mentioned, the whole approach of like your mindset, your muscle development, the weight loss, the stress, water retention, all that goes up, and it's just gonna make everything slower on your end. I usually go lights out like 10:30, like consistent, even on weekends. Like me staying up to 11 on weekends is pretty rare unless I'm like doing something important on the game. But you want to have a consistent nighttime routine, consistent morning time routine. The more consistent it is, where you actually have a proper circadian rhythm, you will be doing yourself huge favors in the long run. And again, this is the most simplistic and laziest way. It's not necessarily the best, but it's the most simplistic, laziest way that you can follow. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and drop a comment if I missed anything. I would answer it as soon as I can. But until then, I'll be seeing you next time.